Welcome back to FinalWhistle.ie's Women's National League show with myself, Alanna. We have plenty coming up for you in the next hour. We'll be joined by Breifne Earley for a review of Series 6 before we look forward to Series 7. Then we have Bohemian's Abbi Brophy to talk her Women's National League exploits and her slight position change this year with Bohemians, as I mentioned. Then we'll catch up with our first Women's National League manager of this series when we're joined by Athlone Town's Tommy Hewitt. But for now, though, we'll kick off with Breifne. So thanks for popping in to chat to us to review Series 6, Breifne. Wins for Peamount, Wexford, Shells and Sligo with a draw there in the Dublin.
Oh, and there we have a technical issue. Alanna will be back to us in a second. But yes, we did have those games. Sorry, I just apologise for the technical issue there, Alanna. But big results for, I suppose, Wexford in particular. A fantastic opening performance. First 16-17-minute hat-trick from Ella Malloy really set Wexford on their way against Cork. Fantastic performance from them. Everyone down in Ferrycarrig would be more than happy with that result. And I suppose the weekend had a very familiar ring to it, really, in terms of wins for Shells and Peamount as well. But I think they were made to work maybe a little bit harder than they're used to by some teams that they might not have expected such really, really good performances from. Athlone obviously took the lead. A Roisin Malloy goal down there gave them a great start, but it wasn't to be for them as they just couldn't hold on. And two goals, should I say, maybe a little bit fortuitous. A suspicion of a high foot maybe for the equaliser for Peamount, and a bit of good fortune maybe with a sliced effort on goal from Jetta Burrell, I think it was, on both counts. Ended up in the back of the net via her teammate there. So I think it's going to be an interesting season as Peamount seem to struggle maybe a little bit more than they have done in recent years against some of the teams that they would expect to get 3 points fairly easily. Whether they admit that or not is another situation. I think for me, though, the result of the weekend, probably Sligo Rovers. They took on Treaty United, what most would have expected to be a bottom of the table clash, and Sligo riding high now. They've had the bit of good fortune with that result, I suppose, against Peamount being overturned. Has given them maybe a false enough position in terms of their league performance, but they won't care. They'll take that result. They're a little bit reliant possibly on set pieces and the speed and pace of Emma Doherty. And I think if teams come to grips with both of those, Sligo will struggle to create chances to score goals as the season goes on. But right now, they are cock-a-hoop. They are fourth in the league, and they'll be quite happy with how the season's gone so far. 3 wins from the first 6 games.
Yeah, granted, Breifne as well, as you say, there's teams around where they have games in hand, and there's a bit of kind of change to come in that segment of the table just yet, but a good result, as you say. And obviously Treaty were missing some players too, 2 starting 11 players even, and Sligo had Kristen Semple and Emma Hansbury missing. I saw a bit of a debate ongoing on Twitter. Do you think maybe that's one of the best kind of debuts? I know we're only 6 games in or 6 rounds in at this stage, but debuts for teams in the Women's National League so far, maybe?
Well, I think a lot of teams in season 1 would disagree with that. I think no. I think you have to be realistic as well. If you take out that result against Peamount, they lose 3 points from the 9. I think anyone who actually watched the full game or the majority of the game down in Turner's Cross would realise that at 2-1, it was a bit of a smash and grab for Sligo. Like I said, they'll take it. They won't care how the points are accumulated season 1. Most pundits wouldn't have given them hope in hell of getting to 10 points in the season this year. They're already on 9. We've barely played 25% of the games. We're not even at 25% yet. So they'll be delighted. They won't care how, as I said, how the points go on the board, as long as they're accumulating on the points column on that league table. But realistically, I still think they're possibly in the lower tier of that particular league. I can't see them over the 27 games to come, or maybe it's not quite 27, maybe it's 24 games to come. I can't see them being outside the bottom 3 in the league table. They've surprised me so far, and hopefully they continue to do so for their sake. But I think they've overperformed possibly what they should have, and the 3 points off the pitch probably gives it a bit of a gloss. But saying that, like we said, they play this weekend. DLR, they play Shells. Unlikely to get a result. We'll talk about it more in the preview section of the show later. But even those games in hand, only one team potentially could pass them after those games are played. So they'll be happy with 4th place at the moment as they have it. But yeah, I think people feared for the loss of Kristen Semple and Emma Hansbury just for the the experience and the solidity they bring to that side. Great result given the two girls are missing. Absolutely fantastic result for them. But I think people would have expected them to be fairly competitive against Treaty. Treaty, of course, missing a couple of players as well. I saw you got your hand slapped for saying stuff on another platform during the week on Twitter. So nice to get that correction in. But it is, I think Treaty are poor this year. I think they are full of endeavour, but some of their players, I talked about Amy Madden a few weeks ago. She's been impressive with the under-16 international side this week, along with a couple of other players. They're still very, very young. All those girls still eligible for the under-17 grade at Women's National League level, never mind senior. So, but the future looks bright for Treaty if they can hold on to those players, if they can avoid losing them the way they have players to Athlone and Galway and Cork this year. If they can keep a nucleus of a strong side together, I think Treaty, give them a couple of years and they'll be competitive. And I think the same for Sligo as well. There's some really, really strong girls coming through. They're still quite young. If they can hold on to Emma Doherty, I think it'll be a challenge. But she's been very, very impressive so far. Without her, though, Sligo could struggle to create a lot of chances.
Yeah, had to get that one in there. Happy to have the information handed it to me because I don't know it all by any means. But yeah, Parabit and missing there and Gibson having dropped to the bench too. Do you think maybe one of the results of the weekend that probably slipped a bit under the radar, Breifne, was that Dublin derby, Bows, Dealer Waves, 0-0? What, do you think which side comes out the better side of that result? I know we've Abbi on now in a few minutes, but do you think that was maybe a disappointing one for Dealer Waves?
I think Graham will be disappointed with a draw in Dalymount. I just think, although maybe Abbi had a different view on that in a couple of minutes when you talk to her, but I think Bows will be happy. But Bows have been impressive this year. They struggled at times last year. They've been way more competitive in this year's competition, and I think they will take a couple of scalps. I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe snatch a draw here or there against some of the perceived stronger sides, even the likes of Shells, Peamount, Wexford. We've seen on their off days, they're there to be taken. Athlone showed that this week with Peamount. They really scared them a little bit. Shells as well, even in Galway. And Galway have been struggling for some of their results this year. It took Shells a fair bit of effort to beat them. And then when they did, it was still only 2-0. Sligo could have had 3 points off Shells a couple of weeks ago as well in Talca Park. So the gap between the top and the bottom isn't as big as it used to be. We don't see any double figure scorelines on a regular basis like we might have when, say, Kilkenny were in the league a couple of years ago, and those teams who've been whitewashed a few times, racking up 100 goals in the goals against column. I don't think we're going to see teams do that as much as we have in recent years. But I think still Bows are going to take a few points off teams this year. DLR, I think they'll be disappointed. I think they would have expected, or at least hoped, to come away with all 3 points at the weekend. Looked like a cracking game. I only saw the highlights myself, but for a 0-0 game, Eve Badana made a fantastic save early in the game. Bows might be disappointed not to have taken all 3 points.
And finally then, Breifne, before you rejoin us then later on, Ella Malloy, as you said earlier, the hat-trick there at the weekend, now top of the goal scorer list, front runner thus far. Do you think she could be there come the back end of the season?
No, I don't, and I have a very specific reason for that. I believe she does her leaving cert this year, and I don't think she'll be in the league at the end of the season. I think she's too good not to be. We've seen players who have gone elsewhere at that mid-season break. Unfortunately, given the insecurity within the league, I think they have it's a fantastic opportunity to be spotted by professional sides, and I have no doubt there are many managers in the Women's Super League across the water who are eyeing her up and further beyond, who would be quite happy to get her name on a registration form, professional contract over the summer. I could be just blowing smoke in her direction at the moment, but I honestly believe that unless she racks up a serious score, she won't be around long enough this season to actually make do with that. And I wish her the best of luck. I'd hate for the league to lose her, but I don't think she's going to be in the competition at the end of the season. However, if I'm completely wrong and that's not in her future, I don't think there'll be much competition. I think it's great to see someone like Steph Roach coming back, and the 2 goals she would have lost in that game against Sligo will affect her chances of maybe topping that table at the end of the year. Anya O'Gorman will be thereabouts as well. But if Ellen's still in the league, I think she's my favourite to be top of that. Regardless of how Wexford do, she's just been that good. But don't be surprised if Emma Doherty is not floating around as well. She's only scored 2 goals in maybe 4 games for Sligo so far. but I think she is their big weapon, and that ball over the top, and she's just got that pace to burn, and she knows where the back of the net is. So she might be another outside bet to maybe feature in that competition as the season progresses.
Interesting, definitely, as well, as you say, with Ellen Malloy. That's, I'm guessing, something we're going to be confronted with more and more as the season progresses. As you say, for that maybe mid-season break, it'll be something that heavily dominates the headlines. But thanks for joining us anyways, Breifne, and we'll catch up with you again at the end of the show.
No problem. Talk to you later.
Now, I'm going to be joined by Abbi Brophy from Bohemians, as I mentioned earlier, who had a 0-0 honours even draw with DLR Waves at the weekend. Are you joined us there, Abbi?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for having me, Alanna.
Perfect. Thanks for coming on. You're at a football match there. You're never off the clock, is it?
Never off. I'm not playing, just spectating tonight.
But yeah, as I mentioned, good to keep the clean sheet at the weekend. Were you guys happy enough with that result against DLR?
Oh, yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah, I think DLR are a good side, don't get me wrong. We've come to them last season, they knocked us out of the cup, but I think we definitely deserved the draw. I think we played very well against them, both attacking and defending. So yeah, I think the draw was a fair result.
And would you say, Abbi, you're looking to put it up against those guys? I know at the start of the season there was a lot of talk of them maybe pushing into the top four, but where would you say you're kind of looking to be, or thereabouts this season?
Well, last season we came sixth, so ideally I'd like to come sixth or above. So I'd like to progress from last season, like we did the season before. So definitely maybe top 5 would be a good result for us.
Yeah, and as you say, Bows 6 or 7 last season, and you're 7th now after 6 rounds. There's plenty of competition around you there, especially in that part of the table. Would you say this is the most competitive the Women's National League has been since you've been in it anyways?
Yeah, I do think so. I started off with Kilkenny United years ago, but the likes of Sligo, they're a very good side considering it's their first time in the league. So yeah, I think the likes of Athlone, Galway are a good side as well, Sligo. So yeah, definitely I think we do have a competition around that side of the table.
And playing in Dalymount now too consistently this year, do you think that was maybe a big step for Bohemians Women's National League side? Because I know I was at a match there a few weeks ago and you could see all the kids going up to you after the match and wanting to get pictures and getting stuff signed and everything like.
Yeah, I think it definitely is because the men play there and you're looking for equality between men and women. So yeah, I think that's a great step from last season when we were playing in the Oscar Trainer. Oscar Trainer is still a great pitch, don't get me wrong, but for Dalymount as our home ground, yeah, absolutely, I think it's great. It's so nice to see fans coming up to us. It feels a bit weird, but then again, I'm not complaining. So yeah, it is absolutely great.
I was about to say that. How does it make you feel, kind of knowing these guys are coming and cheering you guys on week in, week out?
It feels surreal in a way because I'm just a regular kind of person who lives in Dublin. It's kind of I'm not really anything special. So I'm yeah, this feels pretty great. So it's nice to see that we have supporters of all ages. So yeah, it is great.
And you yourself have been tearing it up there on the right for Bulls in these first couple of games. You've kind of moved back in the pitch there over the last number of years. How do you kind of acclimatise to that, or do you just take it all in your stride?
Yeah, I suppose you got to adapt. You could play anywhere in the pitch. So yeah, I've moved back to right full. I really enjoy it. It is a lot more mentally fatiguing because I'm kind of before I even get the ball, what's my next move? And when I have the ball, what do I do with it? So it's kind of yeah, it's a big step because obviously I'm used to having my right full behind me as a winger, but now I'm the right full. But no, I'm very happy there, and hopefully I just progress each game. So yeah.
And would you say that was something you kind of wanted to try out, or is that just kind of how it came to be, Abbi? Because as I said, and you said there yourself, you used to be kind of up the pitch further and pushing forward. You still kind of like to do that upon occasion. How does it how do you change into that kind of role? Have you found it tough, or you just kind of, I suppose, taking it game by game?
Yeah, like I suppose it's good to adapt to both positions. Like for me as a winger and the fullback, they're quite similar. Like you said, I can progress into the final third, maybe on an overlap, for example, and then my winger covers me or whatever. But like, yeah, like at the end of the day, it's nice to experience different positions so you know what to expect if you are ever having to be just thrown there. So it is a tough adaptation, sorry, but like at the end of you deal with it. Like you just have to do your bit in training, focus on the matches, study even or analyze different games, positions. So yeah, like it is tough, but at the end of the day you do adapt.
Do you find you get a bit of a different perspective then on things? Because as you said, like used to being the one running at the fullback, and now it's kind of the opposite way around.
Yeah, like absolutely. Like it's now I'm kind of understanding more of a winger's role now that I'm a fullback defending wingers. So
Interesting.
I guess it is nice to see what I would have done in a winger's position against a fullback, and now I am the fullback. So I can kind of maybe hopefully read wingers a little bit more, but then other games I just don't read them at all. So yeah, it is really good. Sorry, the lights haven't gone here, but I have a flashlight here. Sorry.
You're still lights, camera, action with us there, anyways, for the
Good.
moment. But you're rapid as well. I think I noticed it, especially when I was at the games, more so than watching it on LOI TV. Who would you say is up there with some of the fastest on the team if you were to have a foot race?
Definitely, I think Anne Marie Byrne or Amo. She like who's the left full. Oh God,
Yeah.
sorry, the flashlight's gone. Where is it gone? Sorry.
The beauty of a live show.
Yeah, definitely Amo. Amo will give me a run for my money with on the team. And then there's like loads of fast wingers in the league. Like even at the weekend, Kerry Letman and Sarah McKevitt, I was up against them and they gave me a run for my money too. So definitely Amo off the team, absolutely.
And as you mentioned there at the start of the show, you played with Kilkenny and even Shell's underage too. I've heard you mention before that maybe you didn't know if you were going to continue with senior football maybe after Kilkenny. Why do you think that was?
I just didn't know if I was going to continue the career. Kilkenny had folded their team, and Bows were not established as a women's team just yet. I wasn't sure where I was going to go with the other Dublin teams if I was going to go because I didn't know my own standard, let alone the standard of the team of the Women's National League. I was still quite new to it. But when Bows came up, I was like, look, I either try it, and if I don't like it or don't enjoy it, I can always leave. But here I am, third season in, so I guess I do enjoy it.
Just a little bit, anyways. What is it about Bows maybe that you find so special?
I guess like I think I love kind of everything about the club. Like I do enjoy the management. I enjoy even having the training facilities and the Oscar trainer, having daily mounts, the supporters, the background. But I do enjoy like the girls a lot. We've gelled over the years, whether it's girls that have stayed with the club since like the first season, joining new players in. I think it's just a good community. So kind of everything, but definitely having the girls there is easy to go to train in the matches.
That's funny you mentioned the gelling together. I know I think it was Lynn Craven at the start of the year we had on. She was saying DLR ways we're going for coffee and carveries. I don't know what you do for team bonding, but
I hope they don't go for coffees and carveries together.
Separately.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, at the moment, I suppose it's kind of hard finding everyone like to have the same schedule, but like we've talked about going to like recovery rooms. So that's definitely a thing as well. I think it's good outside of like maybe going for drinks or food, having like because I enjoy recovery rooms. I think all the girls need it. So definitely that's something on board. And then we have had teams night out at the end of season and stuff, and the girls always go to the games for the men. So that's like a usual Friday night ritual. But the girls do make an effort to go see the men's team as well. So that's a good idea. I like that. It's like more of like a community base, if anything else.
And sticks kind of with the football as well, as you say. But
yeah, absolutely.
I saw, I think it was Katie Berda set up about the chats on the bus. Sometimes people don't have the time with assignments or this, that, and the other to be chatting down away on the bus. But she sounds like she's in good spirits anyways after the big loss of the injury.
Yeah, like Katie was playing very well, and it's a real like setback, I know, for her, but like yeah, she's mentally strong, which is great, and she has the support from the girls and hopefully like family and friends. So yeah, it is a setback, and at the end of the day, you got to deal with these things. But yeah, definitely, Katie's a solid human being. I have a lot of time for her, so when she comes back, hopefully she comes back stronger.
And you're a PT yourself, is that right?
Yes. I'm
How does that
currently
kind
as
of,
a coach, so it's more like I'm coaching classes at the moment, not as a personal training one-on-one.
and how would you say that kind of serves you in a football setting? Obviously, it's that kind of ritual, as you kind of touched on, of getting into the routine of it, but maybe a bit of drive and kind of motivation as well, maybe.
Yeah, like obviously like I like to train outside of football as well, so my gym work, but it does kind of correlate quite well with football because it's all about like power, speed, agility, mobility. It all links into football. So it does work well. So I'm kind of grateful I'm in that environment. And even I know the girls in the team are in that environment as well, a lot of them. So they're adding it to their game and it's improving them physically as well. So yeah, I think absolutely people should be looking after themselves outside of football training as well.
And obviously, that's kind of the physical side of it, but maybe the mental side of it plays in a bit too. Do you think kind of that I suppose what would you call it, sports psychology is a big part of the game or a growing part of the game nowadays, especially in the Women's National League maybe?
Yeah, like I think mindset is a huge factor as well because I know football can be mentally fatiguing. Like a match, you could be mentally fatigued and physically fatigued. Like your mind is constantly going. You're constantly worrying about your player, where the ball is, how far the ball is away from the goal, what's your next move with the ball, without the ball. So it's a constant thing. So yeah, I think mental strength is just important as well as physical strength in the game. Absolutely.
And you guys, I suppose, have had a mixed result of, or mixed bag of results so far, should I say. A win over Sligo, draws with Athlone and Dealor, and losses to Wexford, Cork, Shells. What do you think you guys are looking to improve on as you go on now this season?
Like we do have new girls in, obviously, and we're all still learning how to play with each other, but that's gelling much better than obviously the first couple of games this season. Um, I think we just need to be like more direct and more like I'm gonna say greedy sometimes towards goal because we have girls who can shoot, who can score. It's just being instead of maybe passing the ball, just going for it yourself. And if you miss, you miss. You no one's gonna give out to you for missing a shot like. So I think definitely being more aggressive in the final third. But we're gelling quite well as a team, which was something that we probably struggled with at the start of the season. So now I think we're on the right track. So I'm looking to get hopefully a couple more wins, a couple more draws. So get points on the table for us, you know.
And I'm sure you're looking to channel that greed and aggressiveness now again on Saturday against Galway.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Galway are a good side. They're aggressive. Again, they're looking for points on the table as well. So, yeah, like I think again it's going to be a great game against them in Dalymount. So I'm really hoping for obviously a good game. I'm not going to say anything else, but yeah, hopefully it's a good game for us.
And I forgot to ask you, I'd say now this has been the most picturesque background we've had so far on the podcast. But how was the match you were at? What match was it, anyways?
It was just a match in Clontarf, a Gaelic match. I'm actually quite new to the sport of Gaelic, so just came out to watch a couple of the girls. So my friend's team won. That's about it. But yeah, I'm still maybe you never know. I might could be a new Gaelic player. Probably
Brilliant.
not.
We'll have to see. Delighted for your friend's result, anyways, and I'm sure you'll be hoping that'll carry over to Bowes on Saturday. Thanks for joining us, Abby.
Thanks, Alanna. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, my next guest, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is our first Women's National League manager to appear with us this year. Athlone Town boss, Tommy Hewitt. Thanks for taking the time to join us this evening, Tommy.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Anything we can do to promote the game, great.
And 8th in the table after Series 6 for Athlone. How would you kind of assess things have gone so far?
Yeah, because we don't read into too much about the table. We don't look at the table. Well, I personally don't anyway at this stage. It's all about, for me, it's all about how we perform. And I think the girls have been excellent. with the game so far. If you take out the Bows game, which conditions were horrendous, both teams, it was probably the worst I've ever seen in my time of football. How the girls even managed to finish 90 minutes with the credit to both teams and the officials. Everything else after, before that, the Wexford game, we were very good. Didn't get the result. Shelburne game was probably, I said it to the girls as well, it was probably one of the games that we didn't really lay a glove on Shelburne. Shelburne are a fantastic football team and their class came through in the night. Then we ended up beating a very good Galway team who were missing two very good players on the day, and Savannah, and I just want to take the time to wish her all the best in her recovery. And Julianne Russell was missing that day as well. So we were fortunate enough to come out on the right side of that result. And I suppose then the TLR game, everybody knows, was called off, which would have probably given us a small bit of momentum. And obviously we played Plymouth then last weekend, and very unlucky not to come out with something out of that game. And the performances have been excellent. And I credit to the girls; they've been absolutely superb at this stage of the season.
Yeah, I think your line might be a bit kind of off there a bit, Tommy, but we'll bear with for the moment. Hopefully it doesn't go on us anyways. But
I don't know.
Oh, you're a lot better there now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Perfect.
Take out these headphones.
I was wondering, was it just
no
my
problem.
side? Brilliant, thank you very much. But yeah, as you mentioned there, a massive game at the weekend there for you guys. 2-1 against Peamount got the 2-1 against you guys. A late Tegan Ruddy free kick there, the difference. But you were well in the hunt there for the majority of that game and even took the lead first through Roisin Roy. Does that say a lot about kind of Athlone's progression and kind of that game was so tight?
Yeah, in fairness, Plymouth are a top class team and have been for the last 10 years, I suppose, in the Women's National League. And I suppose we had a game plan, and our game plan was not to let them have the start that they were having over the last number of games, where I think they were 2-3-0 up against teams in the first 25 minutes. We looked to get close to them and I suppose get in around them and hopefully hit them on the break, and we did that. And as you said, yeah, Roisin scored a very good goal. Plymouth had a few chances themselves in the first half, a few long range shots from Stephanie and Anya Gorman, and it was unfortunate that they went in 1-1, or sorry, they equalised just the last kick of the game and to win 1-1. And I think if we win 1-0, it's probably a different game. But yeah, as you said, look, Tegan Ruddy took a free kick very well. A bit of, from our perspective, that's twice now we've led against Wexford. And again, Wexford showed their class. When you have players like Kylie Murphy, who can run a National League game by herself, you're always in danger. And look, with the Plymouth as well, they have class players. With Stephanie and Anya and Sive Doyle, I could name them all, but we were very happy with. I said it to the girls when we did it at the end. It is a defeat and there's nothing on the board for it, but at the same time, you're very proud of the girls that the strides have made to be able to compete with a team like Plymouth. At the start of the year, our goal we set down, and one of our goals was to take some points off the top teams. And I feel it's going to come, but there's no easy games in the Women's National League anymore.
Yeah, I think as well, Tommy, it's fair to say, I think it's been a bit of a talking point this year that Athlone have been definitely very impressive. And it's almost as if there's been a bit of a kind of change in mindset there, that maybe there's a bit of a drive and still there that the players are starting to believe that they can go on and do it and take points from those teams, as you mentioned, like.
Yeah, that'd be a fair assessment, Alanna. Yeah, I think the key in every team is, and you look again, I don't want to keep mentioning them, but you look at Plymouth and you look at Wexford and Shelburne, the key is the consistency. And not just in your play week in, week out, but it's the consistency of the players. Some of the girls have been with me for nearly going on 3 years now, and we were very fortunate to keep a lot of the players together last year. I think we only lost 2 real players last year in terms of going to other sides, which in itself speaks volumes for the players, what the club are doing, and I suppose what we are doing as a staff. And I caught a bit of Abby's talk there, and she was talking about, when you get new players in, it's about the bonding and all that. And unfortunately, due to COVID and that, there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for clubs to do the bonding stuff. But one thing that we certainly have is we've a great bunch of girls, and the morale is high, and they're always looking forward to the next game. And we never underestimate any team we play. We always win as underdogs because we're new into the league. And yeah, look, again, Lana, I'm very, very happy with the girls that we have.
And you touched on there, Tommy, as well, like, you know, building that bit of consistency within the side. Now, as you say, losing some players too, maybe, and, you know, even Abby there is, say, spectating at a GA match. Would that be an issue you guys face there in Athlone, that, you know, you are competing with the likes of other sports, the GA maybe in particular, you know, like Roisin Malloy and Aoife Harron, maybe with Sligo, Murren Vanny, Leitrim, you know, Moan Ernie with Leash, so on and so forth. Like, is that an issue you guys face? And then, if so, how do you kind of tackle that, I guess?
No, I never see it as an issue. I always communication is the key in these areas. It's our national sport. GA is our national sport. I've been involved in it as well with my own local club here. I understand that girls, you know, they're representing their county, their local parish, you know, and when they come into clubs like Athlone, maybe it's different in different areas. The affiliation they have with Athlone is really not there the same way as they have it with their club or their county. In terms of, you just, again, I don't like singling out people, but you look at Laurie Ryan, who's played for Clare, and she's back playing with Clare last year and this year. She's never really missed a training session with us. She's always trained with Clare, and same with matches at the weekend. But she minds herself. Again, I don't want to keep talking about what Abby says, but it's about that recovery. You know, these girls, even though it's an amateur league, they're acting like professional players, the way they look after themselves. And if someone comes to me and says that they're playing GAA, and they also want to play soccer, the first question I ask them is, have you time? Can you manage it? Once they can do that, that's the key. It hasn't been a problem. It never will be a problem. I would never ask any player to choose. You know, if they want to play soccer, brilliant. If they want to play Gaelic and they want to do both, we'll work with them, and we'll come up with the best solution. And great, the communication is the key, Alanna.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way to look at it as well, because I know we were talking to Sinead Taylor a few weeks ago, and she plays with a GA club, and she was saying, you know, maybe a lot of people kind of look at it in a negative light, but that there are a lot of transferable skills and discipline as well between the two. Like,
oh, absolutely. And again, go back to Laurie Ryan. Laurie Ryan's probably one of the fittest players in the league. I think her stats one game, I think she ran 12K or something with us, and then the next day she set me on her stats. She ran 12K in the GA with Clare as well. I mean, that's phenomenal, and she's always ready. And you know, and they do the skill kind of stuff. I do find when, especially, and Laurie won't mind me saying this, when she came into us first, she hadn't played soccer in a while, just to get the coordination and the balance and that kind of stuff with the ball at her feet. Took a bit of time, but she's been absolutely unbelievable since she's come into us, and can't speak highly enough of her and any of the other girls. And you mentioned Roisin there. Roisin dabbled a bit with Sligo. I'm not sure with Aoife Harron. I know Aoife's playing, but Aoife's actually, she's left Athlone at the moment. And Murren Vanny was the same, and with Jess Hennessy as well. These kind of girls, but look, they've all been terrific. And you know, if it keeps them healthy, it's sport at the end of the day. Some of them want to play with their friends as well, and that's important. That's important too as well, because we all get caught up in the sport. And like, if you see the tragedy that happened yesterday on the Camogie field, it puts everything into perspective. And you know, people just want to enjoy sport, embrace it, and you know, us as leaders of these teams should encourage that as well.
Yeah, and thoughts go out to Kate Moran's family. Awful tragedy, as you mentioned. Your third year with Athlone, Tommy, if I'm not mistaken, what would you say has been your highlight so far?
I suppose the highlight was getting the job first. You know, obviously I'm an Athlone man, and to be the first manager, women's national league manager, is a huge honour to me and my family. Football and highlight, just to see the progression, I suppose. You know, I've yet to hit that If we win 2 games in a row, I think that'd be a huge highlight. We haven't managed to do that yet. We've a win and a few draws and that kind of stuff. But no, just to see the progression in our own club, progression in the players has been a huge highlight. And you know, every time we go training, the 2 nights we go training, you know, the buzz around the place as well. It gives me a great, you know, it lifts me as a person as well. And you know, the staff that we have, it's fantastic. But that's been the highlight for me, and to get to watch the likes of Kylie Murphy and these players up front is also, you know, we are on the opposite sides of the dugout, but you know, when there's class on the other in the opposition, you have to recognise that as well, and to get to see these players. I remember going to the cup final. Wexford beat Piedmont. I think it was 4 years ago now in the Viva. You know, and I remember there was hinted that Athlone were going to take over the job, and I got excited, and I said, geez, you know, I could be watching these players, you know, up close next year, and you know, again to see them, that's been a highlight as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's fascinating, actually, Tommy. Would you say there's been a change in perception there from, let's say, like you mentioned, maybe that time of that FAI Cup final to now? You know, it feels like maybe there's a lot more kind of interest and chat about maybe the week in, week out games as opposed to just the big occasion games, like you mentioned there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, as I said, I would have been fairly, you know, I would have been in contact with the likes of Billy Cleary when Billy was involved with Galway, and I was involved with Gainer Cups and that kind of stuff. And I always knew about the Women's National League, but now you just have to switch on your phone, and it's everywhere in social media. And you know, that's a credit to the likes of yourself and you know, Breifne and these people that run the podcast and run the National League show, and the clubs as well itself. I would, to be honest, my own club as well, about, you know, maybe promoting it a little bit more as well, because the more promotion of the women's game, the better for everybody, and most importantly the players, to get the recognition. And I heard Abbi talking about the players turning up the fans turning up at Dalymount. You know, when we played them up there the night that was in it, it was a fantastic crowd. We played Piedmont the weekend, and I suppose for me as an Athlone man, there was probably more Piedmont fans at the game than there was Athlone fans, and that's something that I suppose we have to look at from a club, you know, to try and the club are doing their best. Don't get me wrong, and if people don't want to come out, they don't have to come out, but to try and get that support. And I know Sligo, I'm looking forward to going up to Sligo, because by all accounts the crowds that Sligo are getting are fantastic as well. And yeah, look, I think it has really come a long way. Obviously there can be loads of improvements, and there can be improvements in everything. Small steps. The biggest improvement I think the league can make is maybe to go semi-professional, stop our best players leaving. I know that's another topic for another day, but try and keep our best players, because as managers, and as most importantly as players, you want to be playing against the best players week in, week out. You want our league to stay strong, be strong. No point adding teams and then losing our best players. That's my opinion. Yeah, but to answer your question, I think it's come a long way, and it's more roads to travel too. I think good roads.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would agree with you in that sense, Tommy, that maybe that is the next logical step. I suppose the thing is just kind of how do we bridge the gap in the meantime, but hopefully it's something we see in the near future. Athlone, though, a really kind of young side, as you said, looking really promising at the start of this year. Anyways, you've loads of emerging talent to your name. I know chatting to, I think it was Laurie actually at the league launch, that it was a real aim of yours to kind of retain the players and kind of like what you mentioned at the start, that bit of consistency. Why is that so important, do you think?
But the first thing is, Alanna, if you don't retain the players, you're starting fresh every year, and it's not good that you're going to start fresh every year, because you're in the same position as you started. And I know that's a very cliche answer, but that's the reality. And for me, like when we finished last October, like from the day we finished until the season started, I was holding my breath every time my phone rang, that I was going to either keep a player or you know, I was going to lose a player, because you know, you see the likes of Piedmont, you see the Wexford, you see Galway, you see all DLR, you know, but DLR were signing players, you know, quality players, and as a manager, you're looking at this going like, you know, how are we going to compete with this? We need to keep our best players first and foremost. And lucky enough, we've done that. And then with the emergence of Sligo in the league, and it's no secret that Mern Devaney, Roisin Malloy, Kelsey Monroe, they're all from, I know Kelsey's a Mayo woman, but they're all from that direction, and they would have affiliation with Sligo before. And, you know, for them to stay with Athlone and is been massive for us, especially for me as a manager. Because Roisin, if like when Roisin came into the team last year, she took her a while to get into the team, but she set the league on fire, and she's continued to do that this year again. And Mern is only coming back from an injury as well, and people have yet to see the best of Mern this year, and she's coming back now. She trained very well this week, and you know, but to have them players and to add the two girls in from the States as well, Dana and Rita, and most importantly for me, a player who I've admired over the number of years to get her in was Jillian Keenan from Treaty. Jillian's been immense, super girl, super attitude again, and she's finding her feet with the club, and it's just more good things to come from her as well. I would have liked to add one or two more, to be honest, because we are a bit thin on the ground. If you see this week, we play a Treaty side down in Treaty, and it's going to be a tough game. And then we go to DLR on a Tuesday night, a refix game on a Tuesday night, and it's looking like I could be without a few players because of exams. Which, again, I understand that the league have to run a competition, but Tuesday night for us to travel to Dublin it's a bit crazy. But you know, we were told we have to fulfil the fixture, and we will fulfil it. But that's what I'm talking about. You know, the strength and depth, and you know, if we get to the summer and hopefully players will become available, and we might be able to strengthen that a little bit more. But yeah, that's the reason why. And I think you need that continuity, so you're able to push on. Basically, that's the key.
You talked there, Tommy, about the potential of maybe adding more players in the summer. On just kind of sticking on that point for a second, like how do you, as we mentioned, the retaining players? Is it more so you just kind of line out the goals and say this is the expectations of where Athlone are kind of headed, that kind of cements that in their minds maybe?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of factors obviously in retaining players, and you know, the big one for me in this league is location. It's the location. It's you know, we're fortunate enough that the Roisin Malloy goes to college in Athlone, Jess Hennessy goes to college, Kelly Brennan goes to college in Athlone, so it's easy for them to make the decision to play with Athlone. But then you look at Mern Devaney, who's travelling from Manorhampton into Athlone to train twice a week and play a match at the weekend. And you know, Mern is a very ambitious player. She's a young player. I feel as a club and as a manager and as a coach that I've brought her game on. Like Sligo did a great work with Mern in the underage, but you know, we've brought her on to this level, and she wants to push on. She wants to progress, and you know, she'll ask you the question about, you know, what players are you going to bring in to make us better. And you know, you go, you set out, you do it, and you set out your expectation. You set out, as you said, lay it out from the goalpost, and you say this is what we're trying to achieve, and we want you to be part of that. And then ultimately the player has a decision to make. And I was very close to signing some very, very good players, and they made a decision to go somewhere else. And I respect that, because at the end of the day, there's one thing I always say to players, and this is a true, you have to be happy. You can't, not for everybody else. You can't make everybody, you need to be happy in your decision. And it's good there is a transfer window, because if players make decisions, whether stay with Athlone and come to transfer window, they want to leave, or players want to come into Athlone, well, you know, they have that option of doing that as well, because sometimes the grass isn't always greener. But look, and I don't want to keep harping, but we have a very, very good squad, a great balance in the squad of that experience now. Probably 3 years ago, I'd be saying, look, we're inexperienced, and you know, we're just going to find our feet. Now you're looking for performances, and you're looking for results on top of that as well with the squad that we've assembled.
And would the travel then, in that regard, Tommy, be maybe a reason? Because I know, is the likes of Kayla Brady not involved this year with Athlone?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Kayla, I don't think she's involved. She's in college in Galway at the moment, and Kayla was a superb girl and is a superb girl, and you know, she's taking the time. I think she's taking time out this year. for her studies and that kind of stuff. And Kayla knows the door is always open for her if she wants to come back to Athlone. But again, she's probably looked at the travel. Like Leah's re-signed for us, but Leah, unfortunately, as everybody knows, had that bad injury last year, and she's coming back and she's training hard, and hopefully we'll see her on the pitch soon enough. Yeah, Alanna, travel. Look, we are in a good area because we're central, but because, as you know, with the geographics of our squad, we have girls coming from everywhere. But it's still hard to entice players, from Dublin to come down to Athlone because, like you spoke to Abbi there when she was with Kilkenny, and she didn't know what she was going to do in terms of playing, and then Bose came in and snapped her up, and Abby's a great player and she's a good girl as well. She would have been a player we would have had on our radar, I suppose, when I came in first, but obviously Bose then as well announced that they were having a team, so she went to Bose. So yeah, look, I do find it very difficult. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to go on and tell lies that it is very hard to attract players into a team like Athlone because, listen, people look at it and say, if there's a choice between Athlone and Wexford or Athlone and Shelburne or Athlone and Peamount, they're going to go to the top teams, and that shows the ambition of the player. And also, but we will get, Athlone will get there, whether it's with me at the helm or someone else. Athlone will get there in the next number of years. It's very interesting, and I know we probably don't have much time, Alanna, but I remember Kylie Murphy's interview there. I think it was 2 seasons ago. She spoke about when she came into the league first, losing 10-0 and losing 8-0 and 5-0, but she said the key was that they stuck at it. The same bunch of players, they stuck at it week on week, and obviously they reaped the rewards. Then I think they won a League Cup. I think it was in their second season, if I'm right. Yeah. First or second season. Yeah. So that's something I'd be always saying to the girls. I said, look, if you want any kind of encouragement that this will work, obviously you have to make it work. But listen to people like Kylie Murphy, who's been in your position. It's not all roses and champagne at the top. You have to work hard to get there, and that's something that we're trying to do with the club as well. We're trying to put in a foundation where, there is a nucleus of players there that when you bring in the younger players, that the experienced players are there to help them along.
Yeah, definitely. And the openness is very refreshing, Tommy, I have to say. I think everyone watching it appreciate it. But just to mention as well, like as you say, it definitely is clear that Athlone are getting there. There's such a youth talent, and kind of you're building that bit of consistency now. Even the under-17 team coached by Anto Fay, I think, have qualified phase 2 of the league competition. How important is that kind of thing to have that bit of club vision towards a betterment of the women's game all the way up through the ranks?
Oh, it's it's massive, absolutely massive, because I always say, people always say your senior team is the most important team in the club. I always say your underage teams are the most important teams, because if you can't bring through the underage players, well, then there's no point in having a senior team. You mentioned the under-17s, and Anto, who's been my assistant manager since I've come into the club, works with the senior team and does Trojan work for both the seniors and the 17s. Plus, he's married and his kids, and I don't know how he still is, but he'll kill me for saying that. But no, he's absolutely brilliant, and what he's doing, the job he's doing with them girls at 17s, and bear in mind, a lot of them are still have another year at under 17 next year, and I would have played 1 or 2 of them in pre-season games, and the future is bright. And then you have Brian Kay and Pat at the under 19s, who are doing a terrific job with the 19s. They struggle to get in players, but the players they've got in, they've got the best of, and they're really working miracles with that team, and it's fantastic to see. And the foundation's there. The setup at the club is excellent. From the club can't do enough for us in terms of training, matches, and looking after the girls. They treat the girls the same way as they treat the men, which you wouldn't expect anything different. Everything's fantastic, and it's going in the right direction. And I know I'm not silly that I probably won't be there in a year's time or 2 years' time, but someone that takes over, that the groundwork has been done, and it's just to keep it rolling, keeping that wheel turning, and hopefully to be successful like a Wexford or a Shelburne or a Peamount. That's the goal. That'll be my vision going forward, and these young players certainly see that as well, Alanna.
Well, I've seen you mention before, Tommy, as well, that's your own management team there, but that maybe other managers in the league are really approachable and maybe like open and honest about what they be kind of doing behind the scenes maybe as well. Would you say that's so true to this day?
Yeah, listen, look, every manager will keep their cards close to their chest when it's coming if they're playing each other. But Steve Feeney came in with Sligo, and I would have known Steve through I coached him at Athlone when Steve was with down with Athlone, and I'm giving away my age now. But when Steve when Steve got the job, I rang him straight away and I gave him advice. I told him, listen, yeah, we're rivals when we go to play each other, but I'll give you any advice. I'll be honest and upfront. And the same way Billy Cleary was with me when I came into the league. There was no hidden agendas. Billy told me as it was, and and I speak to Graham Kelly fairly regular. Myself and Graham, if one thing, I've met great friends, James from Peamount. These types of managers have been brilliant to me, James and Graham, and any advice I need, I can pick up the phone and chat to them, and we can talk things out because they've been there, done that as well, and especially James has been, I think it's his 8th season with Peamount now, and it's great that you're able to talk to them and be so open with them and be honest, because look, at the end of the day, Alanna, us as managers will probably be gone in a couple of years' time, and the league will still be there, and everything we do as managers, we try to do for the betterment of the league. That's the most important thing, and the most important thing is for the players. And if there's something that needs to be done or said or whatever, I'm sure us managers pick up the phone and talk to each other. And I wouldn't have a bad word to say about any manager in this league. They're all trying to do their best, and rightly so for their own team. But ultimately, I think the bigger picture of it is we're all trying to do the best for the Women's National League to make sure that it's still thriving in years to come.
Hopefully, anyways, Tommy, it looks like off all your guys' hard work, anyways, the only way is up in that regard. Finally, Treaty this weekend, you touched on it there a bit earlier. How are you kind of approaching that one?
Yeah, look, I'm sure like Don O'Riordan is a super manager. Don, I would have known Don through the men's game, but not known him. I knew of him, and he won a league first division with Galway and spoke to players that worked with him, and he's doing a fantastic job with Treaty. They've lost a lot of players. People have to remember that they've lost a lot of players. So he was coming in and he was nearly starting from scratch. And you look at the table and you say, oh, geez, they have to get beat. But there's no easy game. Like every time we've played Treaty, the games have been tough. One thing one of the coaches said to me the other day, it was actually Anto, he said, they never give up. They never give up. And I watched them against Peamount and I watched them all their games. And in fairness to them, they're very organised, they're well coached, technically very good, tactically aware. Probably at the start, and I don't know if I'm talking out of school, probably that little bit of experience has done them, but listen, they're going to win at some stage. And I hope it's not us on Saturday, but we'll respect Treaty the same way as we respected Peamount. As I said to you from the start, Alanna, there's no easy games in this division. We will go down there with a game plan, and hopefully the game plan works. And if it doesn't, the best team will win on the day, and we'll take it into DLR on Tuesday. But we're focused. We trained well. Again, we're going to train tomorrow night as well, and we'll be ready for whatever Treaty have to offer. But yeah, look, I'm obviously hoping for the win, but I'm not expecting it to be one bit to be easy at all.
Brilliant. Well, I can't wait to see how you get on in that one anyways and throughout the course of the season. So best of luck with it, Tommy, and thanks for joining us.
No, you're very welcome, Alanna, and best of luck for the rest of the season yourselves as well. You're doing great work. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alanna.
Finally, now I'll be rejoined by Breifne Earley to preview the games we have coming over the week. And week, I say, Breifne, because it's not just the weekend. We have those rescheduled fixtures as well. It's a busy couple of days ahead for them.
Yeah, it's a lot of games coming up thick and fast over the next couple of weeks, next couple of days even. Obviously, they're just on the bottom of the screen there. But for me, I think the highlight of the weekend is probably going to be DLR Shells. I'm really excited about that game. That one, of course, is on Saturday in the UCD Bowl. Sprinklers allowing. There seemed to be a perennial problem in both this league and in the League of Ireland over the last few weeks. So with all hopefully all goes to plan and that game goes ahead on Saturday afternoon. It's a full round of fixtures this Saturday, as we said. DLR Shells, they kick off at 4:00 on Saturday with Treaty United and Athlone. Tommy just mentioned that one. He hopes it's not a banana skin for them. I think it's a game they'd expect to win, and they have picked up a couple of players from Treaty in recent years, and from the general Limerick Clare area. He talked about Laurie Ryan there as well, of course. Would have been a target for both Galway and Limerick based on the geography, I'd imagine. But she'll be in action on the Athlone Town side of the fence on Saturday evening down in the Markets Field, while Peamount host Cork City in a game you can't really see going any other way but a victory for the Dublin side, as they hope to keep in touch with Shells at the top of the table. We could see them back at the top of the table on Saturday evening, because I think Shells will do well to get all 3 points from the UCD Bowl. They're well capable of it, but I think DLR have been looking at this as an opportunity to maybe strike put a claim on the top 2, 3 or top 4 spot they've been chasing. And I do think they'll finish third this year, or at least top 3 this year. I think they will just edge out Wexford in that chase as the season progresses, but we'll remain to see what happens. And Saturday will be a good indication of that. Wexford themselves, they host Sligo Rovers. They'll be expecting to take all 3 points from that, but as we've seen, Sligo tough nut to crack so far this year. They don't concede that many goals, a bit like their men's side, and if they can keep it tight, and maybe as we've said before on the show, Emma Doherty can maybe create a chance or two, or Aoife Brennan has had a couple of nice free kicks now at this stage as well. Emma Hansby scored from a set piece. Even Kristen Sample scored for a set piece for 30 seconds in one particular game. But if Wexford are a bit disciplined coming into that game on Saturday evening, I think they'll be okay. It's a long journey down from Sligo to Ferry Carrick. Tommy talked about the kind of the journey that players like Myrne Devaney are making. I actually live on her route from Manorhamilton to Athlone. She's 30 minutes north of me, and she's traveling an hour south of me. It's a hell of a journey, particularly when Sligo are so close to her. And he talked about maybe specifically Sligo, about the recruitment of players. And there's a few things you mentioned that overlapped really nicely there, because I think knowing a couple of the girls from Sligo have been involved back in the day when they were first founded. I think Tommy was really, really good at getting that business done really early. The rumours were all on the grapevine. Sligo were putting a team in. They hadn't been confirmed yet, but within about 2 days of the season finishing last year, he'd signed up both Roisin Malloy and Myrne Devaney, and they're 2 key signings that Sligo would have really wanted to make. Will we see them in a Sligo jersey in the future? Very probably, very possibly. But at the moment, they're committed to Athlone, and I think they will give up their all for whoever they've committed to at the moment. Roisin, as you mentioned, is in college in Sligo. I believe Myrne's doing her leaving this year. So it remains to be seen where she will end up in the second half of the season. Never mind where it is. There's a distinct possibility she could end up anywhere from Sligo, Athlone to Dublin, Galway, or even overseas, depending on what is on offer for her at the moment. I know there was talk a little while ago about potentially the US being a destination for her. I don't know if that's still on the cards for her, but there's plenty of movement to be expected as players like Murren, like Ellen Malloy, we talked about earlier, maybe looking at those scholarship opportunities in the States, maybe professional contracts, although I think most players now prefer to get their education before they go abroad. They'll wait till maybe 21, 22, a degree under their arm before they head off to play football for the rest of their playing careers. So, interesting to see how that goes. The final game then, of course, Bohs and Galway. Galway make the journey up to Dalymount. Galway have been in impressive form this year. I think I wasn't expecting huge things from them. They were in a little bit of turmoil over the last 6 to 12 months. They've been through 3 managers now. Alan Murphy, the third manager in probably 15 games or so, really. But he's made a good impact there at the start of the season. I know there was a bit of hoo-ha about the CEO role there. That seems to have been resolved fairly well in terms of the little to no impact on the pitch. But on their evening, Galway can take on anybody, and that's probably going to be my second pick of the week in terms of a game to watch. So I think I'm going to settle in, watch the DLR game at 4, and then watch Bohs and Galway immediately afterwards at 6. I think there'll be 2 really competitive games. The others, I think, will probably go the way of the favourites. I expect Wexford to pick up a win, albeit at a push against Sligo. Peamount, I can't see Cork really competing with Peamount. I think they just have that little bit of extra experience in guile. Treaty Athlone could be interesting, but I think Athlone should just shade that one.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd agree with you there that maybe the most extravagant fixture of the weekend is that Dublin derby, but Treaty Athlone should be competitive. You'd expect Peamount to go out on top. I'd say Sligo we would anticipate them to kind of shut up shop like they did against Shelburne, maybe employ that now against Wexford. And then
It
I
nearly
say,
worked.
yeah, Bowes Galway there in the middle of the table, I think, is a massive clash, as you say. And the fixtures there at the bottom of the screen for anybody looking to see what's on. But on the rescheduled game front, just because they're on the Tuesday there before we come back for next week's show, you've Treaty.
Yeah,
Cork.
3 games. Treaty Cork at 7:15 on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening. Wexford Youths and Shells. Shells make the journey down to Wexford for 7:45, and then, as we heard, DLR will host Athlone on Tuesday evening at 7:45 kickoff in the Bowl in UCD. Again,
crunch clashes.
But what I like about them is they're relatively competitive. They're within their own ability levels. Wexford Youth Shells obviously will be the pick of those games. Treaty Cork will be important for both teams to really know where they're at. It's a team around themselves at the league. Treaty could leapfrog Cork with a win. Cork will want to extend that lead. If it's currently 3 points before the weekend's games, they'll look to double that coming into next week at the least. While DLR and Athlone, it's DLR's chance to really show how much progress they've actually made since last year. Athlone maybe looking to show again how little the gap has widened. So we'll read a lot from those games, but some competitive games next Tuesday as well. Of course, all of those games, full live commentary, text commentary here on FinalWhistle.ie, but also you can watch them wherever you want in the world on LOITV.ie. So you've got plenty of opportunities to follow along, and of course, we'll have it around the grounds for those games as well immediately after the final whistle here on all of our socials on FinalWhistle.ie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, perfect. We'll have to reflect on those games again next week. For now, though, thanks for your time, Breifne.
No problem at all.
Well, that's it for tonight on the FinalWhistle.ie Women's National League show. I do hope you enjoyed. Thanks again to Abbi and Tommy for coming on as guests, as well as Breifne for his insight and producing too. Be sure and drop us a like if you did enjoy, and shoot us your feedback or suggestions at FinalWhistle.ie. For now, though, I've been Alanna. This has been the FinalWhistle.ie Women's National League show. Good night.